So for a long time, I would go to sleep after Fajr every single day, and especially because it was the summer. So of course, the night was really short and the day was long. So after Fajr, I just felt so tired. And during other times, like for example, the winter, it was really easy to stay up after Fajr because the night was longer. But recently, I actually started getting back into this of staying up after Fajr and doing important tasks. And even with the fact that, to be honest, I get a lot less sleep, I actually find myself to be so much more productive and have a lot better days. It's honestly crazy. And if you've never had this experience of staying up after Fajr to do projects or tasks, I'm telling you, you're missing out on something insane. See, the Prophet ﷺ actually made dua for this ummah in the early morning. And so the early morning has so much more barakah in it. And that's why the Prophet and a lot of the companions radiallahu anhum used to do a lot of their work and trade and expeditions during this time. And what I realized was if you're just trying to get work done, if you're trying to be productive, the early morning hours are a lot more beneficial than the late night hours. So for example, 1 hour of work during the early morning is worth like 3 hours of work in the nighttime. I used to be the type of person who slept late and also woke up late because I would say, well, I'll just do the work I do in the morning in the night. But really, I'm telling you, just try for yourself. There's so much of a difference in the amount of barakah you have in your time. And on top of that, you actually have no distractions. At least this is what I experienced. When you're waking up early and staying up after Fajr, no one's really going to bug you, no one's going to call you, and you're not going to have distractions. You're going to be focused on your work. Now compare that to later on in the day where you have people talking to you and people wanting to call you and all of these distractions that make you unfocused. Real quick, my name is Halim. I help young Muslims go from losers to winners. Check out the top link in the description if you want to break free from procrastination, inshallah. So basically, there's a reason why every single successful person, whatever you want to define success as, worked in the early morning. And what's even more interesting is if you look at the Prophet ﷺ. Now, we don't actually directly know his sleep schedule. Like, there's not a very clear-cut hadith about how long he slept. But since we know about his schedule and a lot of the things he did throughout his day, a lot of people would estimate that he slept between 3 and 5 hours every night.
I don't know. But if you look roughly, you would assume that he used to sleep between 3 to maximum 5 hours in total. The Prophet rarely slept except at night and only for a couple of hours, maybe a little bit less, a little bit more.
Now, when I first heard that, that was kind of crazy because that's a very small amount of time, at least for most of us. But if you think about it, the people who are sleeping 10, 11, 12 hours a day, unless you're a child and you need it and you're growing, like, of course, that's different. But if you're sleeping that much, you're not going to be able to get a lot done. These people are not productive or successful people. And Allah even praises the people who abandon their bed. And in the case of that verse, it's referring to invoking their Lord. But of course, this can apply to a lot of different things. For example, abandoning your bed and sleep to do important work, like do da'wah or spread knowledge, or pretty much anything you could think of. Okay, so you're hearing this and this sounds all good, but let's be honest, how am I going to only sleep 3 or 5 hours every single night and still feel good? Well, what I realized and what I saw in my life is that quality is actually better than quantity. What you need with your sleep is not more quantity, but rather it's barakah in your sleep. Because if you think about it, you've probably had days where you slept for 10 or 12 hours and you didn't feel good. Like you felt groggy and tired after waking up. But at the same time, you've probably had days where you slept for 4, 5, maybe 6 hours, a lot less than you usually sleep, but you still felt energetic. The reason why is because sleep is not as simple as just saying, I got 8 hours, so I'm not going to be tired. You need quality of sleep, so you need barakah in your sleep. And so with quality, I mean, there's a lot of different things. You know, you could talk about your diet, you could talk about sleep cycles and all of this stuff. But what I truly think helps is if you do good things with that sleep that you have. So for example, instead of sleeping, you're doing good things like praying Isha and reciting Quran. And when you wake up, you have the intention to pray Tahajjud or Fajr or recite Quran. When you have the intention to do good things instead of sleeping, what I realize is your quality of sleep goes up. So even when I sleep like 5 hours or 6 hours, a lot less than I usually would, when I have the intention to do good deeds with it, I end up actually having energy when I wake up. Honestly, this is something you kind of just have to try for yourself. And I mean, let's be honest, you can go one day sleeping a little bit less, bro. You're not going to die. So at least test it out and see if it's good, because I guarantee you the amount of extra productivity you have will absolutely blow your mind. Okay, now how do you actually wake up early? Because it is honestly pretty difficult. The first thing I did, and probably the best thing, is to have a strong intention to stay up after Fajr and also to make dua to Allah to basically give you energy when you wake up after Fajr. In fact, doing these two things alone was enough to give me enough energy to actually get work done right after Fajr. The first ever day I did this, I woke up after Fajr and I actually woke up with energy. Actually more energy than I would if I slept in after Fajr. So you want to have a strong intention and actually be true to yourself and true to Allah, and of course make dua, because that's literally like the best thing you can do. Another thing is to set an alarm for the time you sleep so that you could sleep earlier. See, a lot of us set an alarm for the time we wake up, but a lot of times what's more important is the time we sleep. So if you're not strict on the time you go to sleep, it's going to be very hard to wake up consistently and wake up with energy. So what you could do to sleep earlier is actually set an alarm for it, or at least have some kind of routine to make it strict. And here's the thing, at the end of the day, the way your body works is you're going to get used to a new sleep schedule. So just be tired for one day. If you just take that hit for 1 or 2 days or however long it takes and you adapt to that new sleep schedule that's actually very beneficial, it'll actually help you in so many realms of your life. So the last thing you could do is literally just tank it. I mean, yes, you're going to be tired, but let's be honest, it's life, bro. Not everything's going to be easy. You're going to have to go through some struggles. And just think about the day of judgment. On the day of judgment, you're going to regret the fact that you slept in after Fajr instead of doing anything else, like reciting Quran or gaining knowledge or pretty much anything beneficial. Even though it might feel hard and be difficult now, your future self, and especially yourself on the day of judgment, is going to thank you for it. Now, the last thing I want to touch on is the best habit that I got into when waking up early, which is something called eating the frog. What this means is you do the hardest task of the entire day first thing in the morning, or at least, after you pray Fajr. I saw this in myself. The days I actually did this, they were so much more productive. Like, it's honestly not even comparable. Like, imagine it's 9 a.m. in the morning and you got more done in one day than you would in an entire week, just because you spent this early morning crushing out a very difficult task. So what I tell you to do is set a very clear task that you have to do, make it the hardest task in the entire day, wake up early the next day, stay up after Fajr, and just crush out that task. Inshallah, after you see the benefits and the amount of productivity and things you can get done, you'll actually stick on this and stay waking up early and staying up after Fajr. Anyways, that's all I have for this video. Don't forget to not stop making dua to Allah. Check out Clean Islamic Streetwear in the description. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.